Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Lizzie Lack, and I'll be hosting the second installment of Technically Creative, where we talk to alumni who have pursued creative industries and who are fully pursuing their passions in life. So today I'm so excited to have on Meg Fechter. She is a Scheller graduate, just like myself. She graduated in 2017, and after she graduated, she worked at Deloitte in marketing, thinking that was going to be her path for quite a while. And after a bit, she decided she wanted to pursue art full time. And so she took the plunge. And now she is the owner and a full time artist and the owner of the Reverie, a creative co working space in Southwest Atlanta that is all women. I've been there. I loved it. I didn't want to leave. So we're going to talk a lot about that, and we have a lot to chat about today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Meg Fechter. Meg, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing so good. Thanks for having me today. And hi to everyone that's logged in for today's discussion. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you so much, and we're so happy to have you on. We have lots of questions that have already been pre-submitted, and we're going to try to get to them all. But before we do that, I just want to chat with you and talk to you about where you've been and how you got to where you are now. So with that, I'm going to ask you, my first question that I had online for you was, tell me about your Georgia Tech experience. How did it prepare you for what you're doing now, your public speaking skills, everything that we were chatting about earlier?
Awesome. That's a great question. First of all, I'm a proud Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech. And honestly, I think I am where I am today because I went to the best institute in the world. So as y'all might know, I was a business major, and I got a minor in social entrepreneurship and leadership, which really helped me start my own business. I had a lot of those conversations in the classroom before I went out and did my own thing. Scheller College of Business is wonderful. I concentrated specifically in marketing, which, as you know, I'm a one-woman show over here. So I'm in charge of my own sales, my online presence, and I really have Scheller to thank for all of my success in that arena. Um, Also, at Georgia Tech, I did Inventure Prize, which honestly was like a crash course for starting your own like mini business. And the one thing that I am the most timid about is public speaking. So, like doing what we're doing right now. And when I was preparing my pitch with my teammates for Inventure Prize, we actually lived in North Avenue and we went door to door down the dormitory, knocking on people's doors and asking if we could just pitch to them. And that was something that really helped me finally get confident in the speaking arena. I'm talking all the time on Instagram, and that's really helped. And then the last few things about tech that I would say is my last year or two there, they had like a mini art like festival, a sale, and I got to come and like sell my artwork to other tech students, which is really exciting. The Clef Art Crawl was like the first time
Mm-hmm.
I took my like little watercolors and had them on display, and
Oh,
that just isn't that sweet? Yeah, it was
yeah.
really encouraging, especially because tech isn't so art focused, but
Mm-hmm.
having that outlet was so like key for me. And then of course like extracurriculars, I think it just builds your arsenal of public speaking, communication, building relationships. I loved my time at Tech and I'm so grateful for it.
That's so good to hear. And I love hearing that. And after being at the Reverie and seeing your work and buying a piece of Meg's work too, that hangs in my home right now, I love to see how everything has really come full circle for you. And thank you for giving back your time too
Of
to
course.
possibly students who are watching this now and want to possibly follow in your footsteps as well. So that kind of leads me into the kind of like two-pronged question I have for you. So
Okay.
can you tell us how the Reverie came to be? And then can you talk about how, you clearly have a strong work ethic, graduating from tech, going to Deloitte, as well as a business degree. So can you talk about how you
Yes.
used that at the Reverie as well as expanding your client base?
Okay. Wow. Great questions. So the Reverie opened almost a year ago, actually. On July the 7th, I found the building on Craigslist. So we actually just had our 1 year anniversary, and I was looking for a new studio space. And when I showed up, this place was huge. It's like a 3,600 square foot warehouse. And I was like, well, maybe I can make something of this. I don't know. And I was like, no, I'm not a landlord. I'm just an artist. Like, I don't even want to, we're not going into it. And then that night, I actually had this like really vivid dream, and it kind of laid out for me that I needed to build a community for women. And so the next day I called up the landlord. I'm like, call me crazy, but I think we're doing this. So a few days later, we had just enough women who had signed leases to be a part of this community. And the main focus is really to create a space where women can come together, create beautiful messes, to strive vulnerably, and just to walk alongside each other down this creative path. Because owning your own business, it can feel really lonely, but it's totally not. And having 16 women in the space with me, like the energy is palpable. So the Reverie has been such a blessing for me. I know it's really helped with my own work, but that's kind of how it began. And we're going into our 2nd year together as a family, which is really such a blessing. And then your next question was work ethic. Yes, this is a really great question, because if you are not only an artist, but if you have a startup, if you're just an entrepreneur alone, you have to have a work ethic. And I think I naturally got that from Georgia Tech, not necessarily because I had a great one to begin with, but because I was around such brilliant people who did, and I just learned through proximity. And then at Deloitte too, I really harnessed my skills in virtual communication and also scheduling. So I think one of the biggest struggles being an entrepreneur is there is no one telling you when you get to take off, and when it's vacation time, and when you get to clock out. And if you're not careful, your whole life can become what you're doing. And so striking a balance is super important. So for me, my work ethic actually pivoted a little bit to not just output, but I actually had to reassess what my input was. So how much sleep am I getting? Am I eating regularly? Am I taking time off? Because that was really an investment, a reinvestment into myself and into my work. I actually keep a journal that I track like my good habits, because if you're not careful, you literally eat, sleep, and breathe your work, and you lose a part of the joy and the fuel you need to keep you going. So I definitely took the work ethic I got from Tech and Deloitte. Then I had to pivot to not even just look straight at my output, but look at my input, because those two inform each other. So
yeah, and what you said earlier, that it's you eat, sleep, and breathe it, and you, especially when you don't clock in like at a 9 to 5, you don't know when to shut off. So I can see
exactly
how important that is to really scheduling and time management. That's really great advice.
Yeah, it took, honestly, Lizzie, it took me a year to figure out what my groove was. Because there was a point in time where I almost felt burnt out, because it was my first year and I was hustling.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like through mentorship and just by seeing how other artists who have been doing this for a long time, watching their balance, it really informed me on how, whoa, Megan, like, you need to sleep. Like, you need to have 3 square meals a day. Like, go take a walk. You need to take trips in order to feel inspired, because my work isn't cut and dry. My work is really spiritual. And if I'm not feeding my spirit, what am I putting into my work? So that was an interesting gear shift for me over the course of the last few years.
Yeah. I know, and you recently went to Mexico, is that right? And that inspired one of your new collections. I saw that on Instagram. So
yes, we went to Mexico literally right before everything happened, which was such a blessing. And I can even show you, when I go on these trips, I come back like so inspired. I already have my little, and I just come back and I just like make color palettes upon color palettes, and I'm doodling and I'm dreaming. And for me, I actually get a lot of my inspiration from my walk. And I don't know, when I get to go to other countries and I'm seeing new things and I'm walking around and seeing the pastel bodegas and the little shops and the flowers and just the culture, I just get re-inspired. So yeah, my trip to Tulum was really fun. And it informed a ton of the work and the color palette that y'all might have seen over the last like 6 months.
Oh my God, it looked amazing. And yes, the colors they're beyond beautiful. So trying to touch on a few more of the questions. So, okay, you did what so many people dream of doing but are afraid, whether it's financially taking that risk, leaving a secure job, going into the unknown, which we all are dealing with the unknown right now, of course. How did you do that so successfully? And of course, I'm going to ask you, what advice can you give others who are looking to do the same?
Yeah, first of all, I feel like making the jump is always a struggle between the fear and the faith narrative. Fear that you're going to fail, but then also, what about faith that you're going to fly? Like, this actually might take off. And there was so much fear, Lizzie. I worked at Deloitte. I had PTO. I had so much security. But the thing is like at the end of the day, I wasn't happy. I just wasn't. And it's not because it wasn't necessarily because of the job. It's just I had a spiritual need to fulfill, and I wanted to create, and I wanted to work with my hands, and I wanted to literally paint myself a life of color and joy. And it took a lot of conversations with my friends and my family. And there was one day I was walking home. I took a walk. I normally would take an Uber or MARTA home, but I knew I was going to cry. I like reached my breaking point. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, like, I know this sounds so stupid and I should be so grateful for this wonderful job that I have, but I think I need to become an artist. Like, am I insane? And my mom, she was like, okay, Megan, if you want to be an artist, I want you to go home and I want you to write out your business plan and send it to me. And that was the most empowering thing, because you make a business plan because you see a future. And by doing that, that enabled me the sense of security. Like, okay, like, this is the plan. These are the key performance indicators. This is what I want, my milestones to look like. So I know I'm on the right track. So honestly, doing that was like the faith I needed to see that I could fly if I were to try. And then also, if you're really struggling, bye, Shan. If you're really struggling with what you should do, I think it really comes down to just your happiness. Like, do what makes you happy. I think we've all learned at this point in our lives that you really do only get to live once, and there's no greater time to fail than when you're in your 20s. Also, Georgia Tech fail culture. I mean, like, used to it. I failed so many classes.
And I'm with you. I'll put that out there.
See, and like, there's literally no shame. And so I literally told myself, I said, okay, Megan, you go out there, you paint your heart out, and worst comes to worst, you have artwork that you can just give away to friends for free and love on them, and then go find a new job. And then the last piece of advice I would give to somebody who finds themselves where I was a few years ago is lean into your mentors. And these mentors don't have to be vetted in this career. They can literally just be a year or two ahead of you. So my friend Sonia is a ceramicist, and she's a Georgia Tech grad, and she's the only tech person I knew that owned her own art business. And so I called her up and I was like, can I see you at your studio? Can I bring you coffee? I just want to learn. Like, tell me how you did it. And then I met Sonia, and then Sonia introduced me to another person. And the next thing I knew, I had a community of women who were doing what I wanted to do. And I was finally in good company to do what I had dreamed of. So
that's amazing. And yes, like a domino effect. And I feel like, especially being at Tech, you don't know that there are other people out there like you that are doing, especially art. So
not at all.
It's so lovely that you were able to make those connections and really get the support that you needed.
Yeah, it's been great.
Okay, so how do you find sources of creativeness and inspiration when it might be waning, or, especially in this time when we're trying to look inward and with a lot going on the outside? How do you find that creativeness inside?
That's a really great question. Okay, there's like two things. First thing is, when you are working in a creative field, you can't just like turn it on and off like a faucet. It doesn't work that way.
That's true.
And so I kind of say that when the creative wind is blowing, I hoist my sails. And if I'm feeling inspired, I go to the studio. And that book that I showed you, this like little pink one, it was like $5 at an art store. When I see something, I write it down. I dream in it. When I take walks, if I have good conversations with people, and if there's things in my environment, I try to translate that through my palette. And I've healed through my artwork. I've processed through my artwork. I found joy in my artwork. And I feel like people think they need some incredible inspiration, but sometimes
from God, maybe, I don't know.
Exactly, but sometimes the most incredible source of inspiration is in the little moments. I had actually an entire body of artwork that was inspired by a color palette of clothing. It was on the clothing line outside of someone's home. There's a photo of it, and I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Went home to my hotel, colored it out, and I dreamed up an entire series. It's actually the sister series for those of you watching.
I love that series.
Yeah, see, and that was actually inspired by a clothing line. Like, what the heck? Like someone's t-shirt and their sweatpants and like a blouse or something. And then the other thing is I do go on walks a lot. And if you are a creative person, you need to find what fills your spirit and what helps you find peace. Because the other thing too is you need to kind of divide what the world is putting on you versus what your spirit is actively seeking and what it's curious about and what you want to lean into, And so when I take my walks, I'm able to clear my head. Some people like to meditate because it is really easy to produce work that you think other people want to see. But the most beautiful work comes straight from your heart, and you need to create time to have that conversation within yourself. And so walking is a big thing that I do.
I love that you say walking because I go on walks now every day. So hopefully I find all my inspiration in all my walks.
Quarantine too. You talked about quarantine. I actually have had really great productivity during quarantine because there was nothing to do but to walk. And I think everyone has, in their own way, found a slower pace of life. So slowing down and just taking walks has been really helpful for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's so nice to kind of do on those times that we have to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to move into the questions from our registrants. There are so many, and I want to get into them. Let's first go to, any chances of collaboration amongst Georgia Tech students, i.e. art gallery representation in your studio by chance?
That is a wonderful question, and I'm so glad somebody asked that. I have done some collabs before in the past, but more importantly, you don't need to be tied to my narrative or someone else's narrative for people to see your worth. Hit me up, hit up your mentors, make your creative community, and just ask them to share your posts. Channeling traffic to each other and sharing your creative client network and stuff. I mean, that's part of the beauty of being in the creative space. We have had shows, we have markets at the Reverie. It will probably be some time until we do our next one, but for sure, reach out. We've had a lot of tech students participate in the past, and I would love to see more.
Thank you for that, and hopefully they saw that question, and if they have that art, they reach out to you. Okay, so my next one is, what are creative ways you've encountered that incorporate art in social justice awareness?
I love that question. I really believe that photos are worth 1,000 words, but I think art is worth 1,000,000. And especially in the last few months, I've seen artists really harness their platforms and their talent to capture what they're seeing through their own lens and redistributing information through their artwork. And it's been an incredible source of information, of empowerment, and of community. So I've shared a lot. I have some saved on my highlights. There's a Georgia Tech student named Kelsey who I adore. She actually took one of my painting classes before, and she started diving into her digital art and sharing her own experiences and her own story within the social justice narrative. And I know she's really positively impacted so many people through her artwork and through the story that comes with it. So
That's awesome. I have to look up Kelsey after this.
yeah, she's great.
So people often assume that the art world is very glamorous. What's the most unglamorous part to you? And do you have any funny stories to share?
I do. I have so many. First of all, my first year when I didn't have a balance and I was literally just running on fumes. I had so many Taco Bell wrappers everywhere, and you would find sprinklings of. I would always get a soft potato taco. You could always find sprinklings of the neon orange cheese throughout my cereal. So gross. There was one time I had a really old studio before the reverie. Mm-hmm. And a bird flew in through one of the broken window panes. And me and my studio mates were trying to catch this bird, but we were scaring it, and it was pooping all over our artwork.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
It was such a mess. But honestly, what can you do? You just kind of have to laugh about it. And that was ridiculous. There's been times that I've had literal paint in my hair when clients have come to talk about very important projects. But you know what? I love what I do because I feel like people give you a little bit more grace knowing that you're an artist and, we're just going with the flow here. So
well, if you have paint in your hair, it just shows how dedicated you are.
Dedicated, yeah.
Yes, of course. Okay, let me do another one. Oh, this is good. How do you navigate tough conversations with clients professionally?
Love that question. So clients are people. So naturally, there might be some hiccups in communication. And one of my rules of thumb is when you are speaking to anyone about anything, be friendly, fair, and firm. Friendly because they're part of your community and they're obviously here having this conversation with you because they love what you do and they want a piece of it. Being fair, listen to them, understand where they're coming from, and then being firm with your expectations in your collector and artist relationship. But at the end of the day, just love on them, speak to them as friends, and be friendly, fair, and firm.
Yeah, I love that. They are clients or people.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your first full body of artwork and what was the inspiration for it?
Okay. I loved it. It was called the Unbridled series. And it actually came from a conversation I had a long time ago. And it was a woman's interpretation of how to be successful in the business world. And it was kind of a dated way of thinking. And it was about toning your spirit down and just kind of fitting in. You don't want to make too much of a ruckus. You just want to, put your nose down and power through. And the whole idea was not to act unbridled, which I thought about it. And I think she meant well when she was giving that advice. I think that worked for her in the past. But now, as a feminist, it's all about being heard. It's all about being at the table. What the heck is this whole thing about, not being unbridled? You should, or not being, basically you want to be unbridled. You want to be out there. You want to be sharing your voice, sharing your perspective. And so I created a whole body of work that captures the scar tissue and the issues that women have had over the years where they felt like they had to be quiet. And I actually paired every piece of artwork with a story of positive female mentorship, where a woman was encouraging another woman to speak up, where she was encouraging her to be exactly who she was, as loud as she was, as vibrant as she was, and not to tone that down for anyone. So I'm really excited. I feel like we've seen a paradigm shift in the last decade with women changing that mentality. Not everyone is on board yet, but we're getting there. And the Unbridled girlfriend, the world needs that. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love that. I think and your personification of that personally, having met you in person and just speaking with you. So you do such a good job of reminding women how important it is to be heard and unbridled.
And to be exactly themselves.
So this, I guess, I'm sure this has changed since you've started, and you talked a little bit about it, but how do you market yourself in your art? And this person had a second question attached. How do you join an art community wherever you live?
Love it. Marketing yourself in your art, be yourself. It's so easy to see someone that's being successful and you want to emulate their language, their cutesiness, their color palette, their whatever, but they are already them. Nobody is you. So you have your own individual niche. You have your own story, your own spirit, your own experiences. So show up on social platforms exactly as you are. And then the other thing is within building your market, I feel like there's such a focus on you need to get more followers, more followers, more followers. I want to challenge everyone to not just see it as a number game, but instead think about the quality of a relationship you have with that one follower, with your second follower. I talk to my followers all the time. I follow them back. That's important. We're building friendships. I want to know what they're up to. I want to see videos of their dogs. And I feel like the depth of my community has been richer and more valuable than the breadth of my community. And I would really encourage for people to focus on that. As far as finding creative communities to work in, there's a few places in Atlanta, but a great place to start is reach out to other artists. They're probably already working in a collaborative space. If you are in an art school, talk to professors because they might know, oh yeah, like I know so-and-so and he works over there, she works over here. And also I've come to find that a lot of great art studios are abandoned warehouses on the outskirts of town. So go on Craigslist, be safe, Google, reach out, friends of friends. Sonia, my mentor, she actually connected me with my very first art studio. So word of mouth, start there.
That's great. That's great advice. I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah.
What does the commission process look like in terms of your interactions with clients?
I love my commission process. So for people that don't know, I paint what I want to paint and people can buy that. Or some people come to me with their own specific vision and I help bring that to life. And that's called a commissioned piece of artwork. And what I love about it is it's an open dialogue between me and the collector. So they send in an inquiry. If you're interested, you can go submit one on my website. And we just start a dialogue. I ask, what's the story behind this piece? What is the meaning behind it? What colors speak to you? What do you want to feel when you walk into your bedroom and you see that every day? And then from there, it takes a few weeks. We go through a few, iterations until we find something that speaks uniquely to them and captures their vision.
Awesome. That sounds pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and always keeping the clients in mind and what they're looking for.
Yeah, actually, the piece that's right behind me, this blue one, is a commissioned piece for a Georgia Tech student who just defended her PhD thesis, and it's actually based off of a microscope slide of the microorganisms she studied for her PhD.
Oh my
How
gosh,
cool is that?
For her, for completing her PhD. That's so exciting.
Go Cambry. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have time for one more, and I'm going to end it with, as a Georgia Tech graduate, what is your favorite Georgia Tech tradition?
So I was part of the Ramblin' Rec Club when I was at school. And my favorite Georgia Tech tradition has to be, I have 2, cake race. I love cake race. It is so much fun.
Yeah. I remember cake race.
It's crazy. And it's so much fun. When else are you up that early with all the other freshmen?
Never.
It's so ridiculous. You're running in blankets, onesies, whatever. It's great. And then I also was tea night chair. And tea night is a great tradition because it informs all of the tradition. So you get to go and pick out what you enjoy. You learn about George P. Burdell. You learn about Mini 500. If you don't know what Rec Club is, follow them on Instagram. Amazing humans. They are the tradition keepers on campus. So yeah, go Jackets.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Meg. We didn't get to all of the questions, but I'm going to send them to Meg afterwards, and she's going to answer them for you. So they'll be on our website or our newsletter. So look out for that. Thank you so much for being on today and speaking with me. This was so much fun. I was so happy to be able to chat with you again after we met in your studio. So I'm going to do a quick pitch for next week. Our next speaker is Arshel Bernard. She is going to be on Monday, July 20th at 11 a.m. Didn't mean to do that by design, but I guess we're going to be doing Mondays at 11, it looks like, but it might change going forward. She is a science, technology, and culture graduate and the founder and owner of the Bombshell Factory, which is in Liberia and Atlanta. And their mission is to empower women who have been Ebola survivors, rape victims, and the deaf, to provide with them the means and the resources to live and empower themselves within working at the Bombshell Factory. So I'm so excited to speak with her next week. So sign on here again. Really quickly, too, if you want more of Meg, go to paintedparcels.com. And I would be remiss not to talk about the arts here at Georgia Tech. Without you, without your support, what we do would not be possible. So if you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation, please go to, in the comments below, our website, Georgia Tech Arts. It's arts.gatech.edu. And thank you all so much for joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and go Jackets.